Ministers, ambassadors, colleagues, I'm pleased to welcome you to the high-level policy dialogue on the energy, water, land use nexus in Central Asia. Thank you to the government of Uzbekistan for hosting this important dialogue and to Germany for their support in making this event possible. Today's session comes at a critical moment ahead of the COP26 meeting in Glasgow next month. The latest report of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change makes it clear, yet again, climate change is accelerating. Recent climate commitments from many countries around the world are encouraging. However, turning these commitments into real actions and real outcomes remains the most important objective. Outcomes need to match the collective goals of the Paris Agreement on mitigation, adaptation and finance. Currently, emissions are unevenly and insufficiently priced. Many policies and market practices still encourage emissions-intensive investment, production and consumption. In Central Asia, climate change is already a critical threat to people's livelihoods and the natural resource base for long-term growth. The temperature rise for the region is projected to potentially be twice as high as the global average at the end of this century. The increase in water stress is a great challenge, especially in southern parts of Central Asia. In Uzbekistan, for example, the water supply is projected to decrease by 10 to 20% in the coming decades. More than 27% of glacial mass in Central Asia has been lost to rapid melting since 1960. The worsening land degradation, accelerating glacial retreat, and heightened water stress are also compounded by the region's growing demand for energy, water and food, driven by population growth and economic development. So managing the synergies or the nexus among energy, water and land resources in Central Asia is more critical and urgent than ever. And due to the transboundary nature, managing these resources appropriately requires deep regional cooperation. For more than a quarter of a century, the OECD has been supporting the region's countries in the transition to a more competitive, diversified and sustainable economy through our Green Action Task Force and the OECD Eurasia Competitiveness Programme. Through our 4-year project on energy, water, land nexus in Central Asia, which we are launching today, we will further strengthen our collective effort to set this region on the path towards a sustainable transformation. This new OECD project aims to support Central Asian countries in demonstrating the business case for regional cooperation around nexus issues together with other development partners who are also present here today. I hope this will foster multi-sector, transboundary projects in helping to tackle energy, water and land use management issues. More broadly, at the OECD we are ramping up our work to drive ambitious, effective and globally better coordinated climate action towards net zero, building on our decades of experience on climate policy. Our new international programme for action on climate will complement the work of the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, and it will help participating countries track and assess their progress against commitments and improve their climate action plans through targeted policy advice and comparable indicators. The IPAC's preliminary dashboard, which we just delivered at our annual OECD Ministerial Council meeting last week, has clear, comparable indicators on progress towards climate goals. We're also presenting a progress report on the IPAC's Climate Action Monitor at COP26 next month as a key OECD deliverable. Further, to help facilitate an ambitious but internationally more coherent, globally better coordinated approach to the pricing of emissions, we're also launching a new initiative to support a better understanding of both explicit and implicit carbon pricing efforts, building on our experience of the inclusive framework in relation to international tax reform. Our aim is to help ensure that more ambitious action on climate change can be pursued in a way that is both effective and fair. Effective in that it leads to a reduction in global emissions instead of just shifting emissions to other parts of the world, and fair in that every country carries a fair share of the burden. Recognizing a diversity of policy approaches to cater for a diversity of circumstances around the world, the challenge then is to ensure that a necessary lifting in ambition and effort does not lead to negative and counterproductive distortions, from competitiveness implications to carbon leakage to trade tensions. Indeed, it's about how best to preserve a global level playing field while lifting ambition and effort on climate to the level required through an appropriately comprehensive, coherent global approach. To achieve this, our proposed initiative will assess and report on explicit and implicit carbon pricing efforts around the world as a way to inform such a more coherent, globally coordinated way forward. There are opportunities and challenges for Central Asia to achieve the region's resource security and socio-economic development that is low carbon, climate resilient, socially inclusive and ecologically sustainable. The OECD stands ready and is fully committed to play its part, closely working with you and our development partners to support Central Asia on this critical journey every step of the way. I wish you a positive and successful discussion. Thank you.